Friday edition. It's Friday here on the Watch Party. I'm good. It's good to see you guys. It's really good to see you guys. This week has been very long. I'm trying not to come in too fast. I literally have to slow my brain down. That's why I had to stutter for a second. I said, let me just slow it down. It's Friday. It's been a slow week. I feel like it's been 2 straight weeks. I feel like we should have done this 4 days ago. Tuesday felt like it should have been Thursday in my brain. I'm just glad we made it this far, despite all the nonsense we've been going through. The conscious effort I've had towards not yelling and screaming so much. Have you guys noticed that? I've been trying to chill out a little bit. I mean, I haven't been screaming. I never was a screamer. I'm just talking about boiling over, despite the craziness that we're all dealing with. But today might go a little bit crazier because, as I told you guys, you should have had your drinks ready. And as we saw Dragon Shepherd, I hope you're ready. I saw you had something else you were preparing. I didn't get to put this in the post today, though. Here, let me see if I make sure I have it right. There's a new one today. I asked for suggestions for the Friday make me lose my mind energy drink, and I didn't listen. I closed the chat before I got a chance to see and really take in the suggestions. But I went with the rain today. Who drinks rain? The flavor today is tropical storm. I don't know, man. I don't know why I do this to myself. I should stick with my normal Nas, get my branding deal, and have that as my standard. After I go through the cycle of all these things that actually suck, I'll be back on Nas. Nas is home for me. Nas energy drink. NOS, yeah, like nitrous oxide. It's not good. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get started. There's lots going on. I don't know why I wasted those first couple minutes, but I always have to. Dragon Shepherd, your self-control is bordering on impressive, and yes, it's rolled and burning. Did I get it right, Dragon? First I said he has it rolled, and I said, well, Dragon Shepherd could be man or woman. Sorry if I misgendered you. So whichever way it goes, we're always safe with. They've got it rolled. We're good to go. You're making me a little bit jealous. I'm gonna admit to that as well. But still, maybe later today I can join. All right. Let's go ahead and get started with all of this. I want to start with maybe the serious nature of things that are going on, but also the joking and comical way that these folks are going about trying to hide the fact in this Republican MAGA party that they're kind of having trouble getting their talking points straight on this whole government shutdown. And I don't think it's much clearer than the way these guys go on TV. I feel like they get sent. Do they volunteer? How does this whole thing work? I haven't heard about this representative before, so I'm not sure why he's the one who jumped on TV to do it. Representative John Rose. Look at who he says is to blame for the devastation and the disaster that's about to happen. Today is Halloween. What's about to happen tomorrow when this government shutdown hits the point where people lose their SNAP benefits as well.
What's your reaction to what she said about the politics of the shutdown? Her basic take is not to assign partisan blame. It's just you and your colleagues are paid to solve these problems and make sure that they're not that people like her kids are not pawns in this fight.
Absolutely, Jake. Thanks for having me on. 29 days. For 29 days, Republicans in the Senate have kept the government shut down, and it's really deplorable to see them using people like Mrs. Burdine as pawns, if you will, or leverage.
Wait, what was that? Whoops. Representative John Rose said it's deplorable that Republicans have had the government shut down and they're using people like that woman that he referenced as pawns in this whole scheme. I'm gonna make sure you guys heard it. I centered in on that particular moment because he had his line ready, and boy, did John Rose screw this up.
29 days. For 29 days, Republicans in the Senate have kept the government shut down, and it's really deplorable to see them using people like Mrs. Burdine as pawns, if you will, or leverage.
I agree, Representative Rose. It's deplorable how you guys have used women like that as pawns or leverage in your scheme. Yeah, it was a Freudian slip, but he was trying. He probably practiced that line so many times, and I'm not sure if he's gotten word yet. Someone told him, "You fucked up, John. They're never going to let me back on TV again. Damn it, that was my opportunity to move up in the MAGA ranks and to become one step closer to Donald Trump's toes. And boy, that's what we all want." So since he's admitted that that's what they're doing, and he doesn't have much of a brain to pull it off. He might still have a chance, because take a look at what JD Vance, the Vice President of the United States, also said when he was trying to explain whose fault it is and how bad this is for everyone, and has nothing to do with him or his president.
Well, here's the problem. If you go back to previous government shutdowns, what has happened is that sometimes the president has tried to make the shutdown as painful as possible on the American people. I give the president of the United States great credit and the entire team for trying to make this as painless as possible. The Democrats are acting irresponsibly. He doesn't want the American people to suffer because of it. But look, right now, this government, this administration, we're like guys running around, with a leak in a damn wall, trying to plug it with bubble gum. And we plug one spot with bubble gum, and we plug another spot with bubble gum, and we plug another spot with bubble gum. Why don't the Democrats just stop this entire charade and reopen the government so that we don't have to try to make this thing work on a shoestring budget, which is what we're trying to do. The unfortunate reality, and we're starting to see this with our aviation industry, we're going to find out the hard way with SNAP benefits. The American people are already suffering, and the suffering is going to get a lot worse. Not because the president of the United States has failed to make the shutdown painless. He's tried to do everything that he can to make it as unpainless as possible.
What was that, JD? What was that? First of all, the objective here is to try and make Donald Trump look good no matter what. That's what they always have to come back to. No matter what is that they say ever at any point, the objective is to praise Donald Trump, say that he's doing things to make things to seem so wonderful for you. In most government shutdowns, presidents don't do anything. In most government shutdowns, the president doesn't care. In most government shutdowns, that's the way things usually go. But this president loves you, even though he's told you over and over and over again that he hates you. Matter of fact, he dropped poop on you in his, AI video that he was happy to share to everyone. But what was that you said, JD, about painful and painless?
And the suffering is going to get a lot worse. Not because the president of the United States has failed to make the shutdown painless. He's tried to do everything that he can to make it as unpainless as possible.
He's done everything he can to make it as unpainful, as unpainless as possible. Unpainless isn't a word, but if you're going to make something unpainless, then you're going to make it painful. That's two. You know what? Actually, Representative John Rose, you just might still have a chance to sit next to Trump's feet, because JD Vance licks them every day, and he says the same types of things. He accidentally speaks a little bit of truth about what it is that this president is doing. Mostly because this president has told us many, many, many times that as this government is shut down, he's gleefully shutting down more Democrat programs that actually include all Americans. He is making it as painful as possible. His mouthpiece, who he's gotten a step to where he doesn't have to lick Trump's feet. He licks his, what? And this is one of the reasons why they're continuing to lose this argument and this debate over this government shutdown. Some guys have Freudian slips. Others just reveal the game.
So just to put a pin in it, all or nothing, full government funding for the entire government, or you're not going to bring anything up on the House floor, even if the Senate finds some sort of compromise?
Yeah, because they're trying to play games, and we are not interested in doing that. That's the position of the leadership, Republican leadership in the Senate and the House and the White House as well. We have to do well and right by all the American people. Yeah.
So
even if something comes to the floor, we're not going to do anything. And you hear him at the back end? That's the position of Republicans in the House, Senate, and the White House. Why is the White House telling the Congress what is they should do? Why is the White House telling Speaker of the House to keep things shut down because that's what they enjoy doing? And why is that same Speaker of the House not smart enough? Moses Mike Johnson not smart enough to realize, as he's been the mouthpiece for this president for this long, how he doesn't realize that he keeps telling everyone, I do whatever Donald Trump tells me to do. My job is not to represent my constituents. My job is definitely not to be the Speaker of the House. My job is to carry water for this guy. And what he told me was, don't do anything. They're not going to beat the charges. Here he is more.
Wouldn't that be a futile exercise when we have a CR that's been sitting over there since September 19th? If I brought the House back and we passed another CR, it would meet the exact same fate from Chuck Schumer. He would mock it, they would spike it, and they would try to blame it on us. So what would be the point of that? We're all concerned about the timing. The Democrats are eating up the clock. We have very important work to do here, and that's why we're pleading with them, not Chuck Schumer. Look, I think Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are irredeemable at this point. I don't think they'll be able to tell Mondami in New York and his disciples that they voted to open the government. I've given up on the leadership. So we're trying to appeal to a handful of moderates or centrists who care more about the American people and will put the people's interest over their own and do the right thing in the Senate. I mean, there's no point in me sitting down with Chuck Schumer. He's painted himself into a corner. I get all that. Mondami it looks like he's going to win and be the mayor of New York City. And Hakeem Jeffries came out and endorsed him. That's all you need to know. Hakeem Jeffries is terrified that Mondami, one of his disciples, is going to challenge him in his own seat in the election next fall. You've already seen that rumored. Some of you have reported on it. So he had to do it. He had to endorse socialism. He had to endorse Marxism. This dangerous ideology that has taken over the Democrat Party. That is what is motivating them. So it doesn't matter what we do in the House. It doesn't matter what we pass. We have to get a handful of moderates over there who care about America to do the right thing. We need at least 7 Democrats.
He really thinks he nails these monologues. He really thinks he hits a home run when he keeps talking about how he has to bring up Zohran Mamdani, the guy that they're speculating to win the mayor of New York. He thinks he can bring up the scary brown person like this Republican Party has always done back with Obama as well. Let me bring up the scary brown person and say that look how this Democratic Party has now had to kowtow to the vast numbers of people who've come forward and listened to what these folks say and policies that may work for them, and says he just needs a few of these centrist Democrats to come his way. It's such an empty argument. So I thought you guys had overwhelming support and you're killing it and everyone in the country loves you, but you keep talking about how there's so many people who disagree with you. Maybe you should start compromising and coming that direction. They still haven't said what it is that they need to do to actually give the American people something different with this healthcare plan. They just keep saying they've got concepts of plans. There's nothing to negotiate about. We don't want to talk. So now we need people to come over based on absolutely nothing, except for us putting leverage on them by punishing Americans more. I didn't say it. Donald Trump said it. Mike Johnson said it. Representative Rose said it. JD Vance said it. They do know that they're telling everyone that they hate us, right? That's why they keep losing these debates, but they keep going on TV and saying things like this, expecting to win these debates. Even Josh Hawley was brought up because he's like, well, let's find some way to make me look good, because Josh Hawley has a lot of poor constituents that are looking at him right now. He's brought up here and talking to Mike Johnson.
The reality is that this has been a stalemate for 30 days. And it's not just Democrats. You also have one of the most conservative Republican senators, Josh Hawley, who says, at least please move money around to feed people. Why not consider that?
Because if you deviate from the goal of reopening the entire government, Chuck Schumer and the radicals over there will continue to play games with people's paychecks, their livelihoods. And if you do just part of this, it will reduce the pressure for them to do all of it, to do their basic job, and that is reopen the government. This is very real and very serious, and they can end it today. They can do it right now. All they have to do is, we just need 5 more Democrats in the Senate to help us reach the 60-vote threshold. We don't have enough Republicans to do the right thing on our own. We need them to do the right thing.
Does it give? The reality is,
he says we don't have enough Republicans to do what he says is the right thing on our own. The way that, this country has worked, at least what they always said it worked as, was if you don't have enough representation to then do it yourself, what you have to do is you have to find yourself a middle ground. And who you have to work with is those other people who were elected by these folks that we call American citizens, who elected them into their offices to then say, we're going to fight for the people who voted us in. Time to find somewhere some middle ground to meet. But he just clearly stated that we don't have enough Republican support. Do you guys listen to Hamilton, that play, as much as I had to? Because my kid, when he was like 5 years old, loved it. It's like, you don't have the votes. You don't have the votes, bro. That means you have to compromise. He just said it himself. So the only reason you wouldn't compromise is if you're trying to strong arm people. And as I believe some other senator that I'd never heard of before said the other day, they want to put a gun to our heads. Well, you're putting a gun to these American folks' heads and talking about how you don't have enough votes to get there, but you still want people to go with you no matter what. That sounds like a reason for people to not agree with you and understand your perspective, because your perspective is to strong arm, especially when this president keeps telling everyone, I'm going to fuck up your life unless you do what I tell you. And after you do what I tell you, I'm still going to fuck up your life. Axios put it in black and white. So we've reached our 30th day in this government shutdown. And more Americans, they say, blame President Trump and Republicans than Democrats for this impasse. That's according to the Washington Post ABC Ipsos poll. Now, 43% of Americans are, quote, very concerned about this shutdown compared to just 25% at the start of this whole thing. So it's grown. Both parties are anxious about the shutdown, but they say that Democrats are more than twice as likely to be concerned. People making less than $25,000 were the most likely, at 56%, to say that they were concerned about the situation. Now, here's where it breaks down to who is to blame. Almost half of all Americans, 45%, say that Trump and the GOP are responsible for the ongoing shutdown, while 33% blame Democrats, and another 22% say they're not sure because they don't pay attention. This is what I assume is the only reason you could not have an opinion on it. 81% of Democrats blame Trump and Republicans, compared to 72% of Republicans who say Democrats are at fault. And 63% of Americans say that they disapprove of Trump's management of the federal government overall, and only 36% approve. So just as much as Donald Trump can create these false realities that he's got a mandate and he can do anything that he wants, and the American people voted for him to destroy everything that he's destroying, why don't we look at what the current state of affairs are when it comes to those same American people who he claimed gave him this sweeping biggest victory ever in American history, which was a lie, to do anything that he wants? Because right now, the vast majority of Americans are saying, hell no. That's just how it's going. And maybe one of the big reasons is that we brought up a second ago, well, those SNAP benefits. There's other aspects to what they can do as far as these SNAP benefits go. And it's not necessarily opening the government. This has been said over and over and over again, and Republicans are also losing on this as well. Here's Bernie Sanders talking about what is it that they could do, even temporarily, to make something else happen so people aren't without their benefits.
We are here today to send a very loud and a very clear message to President Trump. Obey the law. I know that's a hard concept for the president, but obey the law. Do what Congress mandated you do. Do not let children in America and their parents and grandchildren go hungry. Do not go down as the first president in history to manufacture a hunger crisis in the richest country on earth. Release these funds. Now, the good news is there are at least 11 Republicans in the Senate who are supporting a bipartisan bill to ensure that no one in America goes without the nutrition assistance they need during the shutdown. And that is very good news. And I thank those 11 Republicans. Every Democrat supports that bill as well.
There's a big name Republican that says he doesn't support that. His name is Mike Johnson. And what it is that he said was, I don't care if we have things put in place to do something. The White House, meaning President Trump, told me to do nothing. Matter of fact, even if something was done, this was a little bit eye-opening. J.B. Pritzker was talking about the lengths that this party's going through to make sure that people suffer. As what was talked about earlier, when J.D. Vance accidentally, spilled the beans and said Donald Trump wants to make this as unpainless as possible. J.B. Pritzker is pointing out just how unpainless Donald Trump wants to make this, even if they had this vote.
That they've done something insidious, the federal government, in addition to Donald Trump being willing to turn off SNAP benefits on November 1, when they do have emergency funds available at the Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and they're choosing not to use it. But they've done something even more insidious. They've decided to shut down the SNAP machines so that they can't be used. So even if we were to put money into SNAP accounts, they couldn't be accessed by someone who has a SNAP card. So just wanted to point that out. That is what they're, they won't even allow you basically to do what some people have suggested.
the SNAP machines, I don't know how much of it works, but if JB Pritzker is accurate on what is that he's saying, the access to it would even get shut off from being to use those benefits, with those, I guess, those SNAP cards now that they had back in the day and when I was on government assistance, there were still food stamps. That's how those things used to work, but they want to make sure that you're in all kinds of an unpainless situation, as JD Vance was talking about. And that is including even healthcare. Check out this slide that JD Vance also told regarding healthcare. They're trying everything. I'm playing all these to make sure you guys get how much they're flailing, how much they're trying to swing at anything at different press conferences, different interviews, different appearances on conservative media. They want to make sure that anyone that's listening to them is afraid and has a reason to blame the other folks. The problem is if you listen enough, none of it all makes sense.
It's a question about health insurance premiums, because look, we don't want the American people's health insurance premiums to go up. We're very worried about this. The president's been talking about this since before we even took office, that we're inheriting a healthcare system that has suffered some real problems under the Biden administration. Because of that, you're seeing health insurance premiums skyrocket. Now, here is our very simple proposal to the Democrats. Let's sit down and come to a compromise and work it out. And you know what the Democrats' response to that is? Give us everything we want, or we're going to shut down the government and keep it shut down. That is not reasonable behavior. That's not how you do compromise in this town. That is the way that the Democrats have operated. They are trying to take a hostage, and we can't reward that behavior. It's the question about health insurance premiums.
If you listen closely, now we see where this is shifting. Remember before, Republicans kept saying that there's no skyrocketing health insurance issues that are about to happen. They keep saying that. JD Vance now has to finally admit to that because they keep losing that argument. But if you're going to admit to something bad happening, the go-to excuse is Biden. Now, health insurance premiums are going to skyrocket because of Biden. Did he give you any reality or any kind of examples of what it is that Biden directly did to make sure that healthcare premiums skyrocket? It doesn't matter. All he's got to do is blame Biden. That was the thought. So keep that in mind. JD Vance just said health insurance premiums will skyrocket, but they've been trying to deal with it because of Biden's policies. Here's Dr. Dumbass Oz, who was also being asked about skyrocketing healthcare prices. Remember what JD said and listen to what Dr. Oz is saying.
Unless those tax credits are extended, those subsidies, the average plan will increase for Americans by somewhere around 115%. Do you believe that Congress should extend those subsidies so that most Americans do not receive significant increases in their premiums?
Where'd you get that 115% number from?
Kaiser Family Foundation.
They retracted that. That data was run inappropriately. They changed the messaging on it. Go back and look at the website. Here's the truth. The window shopping is already revealing that the average American is going to pay who's on the ACA between 100 and 400% of poverty level, is going to pay $50 total next year. It's going to be $13 more than this year.
What? They're going to pay $30 more for the year. That's a lie. Who'd you hear that from? And as soon as he was told who he heard those numbers from about the skyrocketing costs, he automatically and immediately said they retracted that. If you had to ask where the information came from, how is it you automatically have the information about that information that you had to ask where it came from? Why would you have to ask if you already have the answers to how they've retracted those statements? You know why? Because Dr. Oz is a liar. Because as that reporter pointed out, it came from KFF. And this is the headline. ACA Marketplace premium payments would more than double on average next year if enhanced premium tax credits expire. I just looked that up this morning. And what's crazy about that is it wasn't retracted the way that Dr. Oz said that it was retracted. You know what else wasn't retracted from that headline and that article was this information that disputes everything that Dr. Oz just said. Since the introduction of enhanced premium tax credits, enrollment in the marketplace has more than doubled from about 11 to over 24 million people, the vast majority of whom receive an enhanced premium tax credit. If enhanced tax credits expire, many marketplace enrollees will continue to qualify for a smaller tax credit, while others will lose eligibility altogether and be hit by a double whammy of losing their entire tax credit and being on the hook for rising premiums. I haven't seen any of that retraction yet that Dr. Oz blindly said was retracted so he could go along with his lies. And he can just say confidently, here's the truth, as he tells a lie. Here's more reality. Since 2014, the ACA has capped how much subsidized enrollees pay for their health insurance premiums at a certain percent of their income. And it's on a sliding scale, with the federal government covering the remainder in the form of a tax credit. Enhanced tax credits work by further lowering the share of income ACA marketplace enrollees pay for in a plan. For example, it gives you information about someone with $28,000 and how much they may make. They will pay no more than around 1%, which is $325 of their annual income. That's for $28,000 a year. If the enhanced tax credits expire, which they will, this same individual would pay nearly 6% of their income. That's $1,562 annually. In other words, if the enhanced tax credits expire, this individual would experience an increase of $1,238 in their annual premium payments of the net of the tax credit. In other words, not $30 more, like Dr. Oz very confidently said as he lied about it, about that, that analysis from KFF that wasn't anything that he said it was. Do you guys remember like a week ago? And then also a week before that, and then a week and a half before that, and a half week before that, when I said, anybody in this administration that tells you something that they say, there's the truth, or anything they say out of their mouth at all, period, that they lied about it. And then after they lied about it, they continued lying about the next thing. And then tomorrow they're going to lie again. I said that like a week ago. And I said the next week they're going to lie again. Here we are in next week, which is now this week. And guess what Dr. Oz is still doing? Lying. This is what we should do going forward. Stop listening and believing their lies. Because tomorrow they're going to lie again. And then Monday, they're going to lie again. Because once you've gone down that rabbit hole of lying, you can't do anything else. Because if you start telling the truth now, the last several months of you lying your ass off is going to kind of be asked, well, why did you say all that opposite stuff? They have to keep weaving their way through these lies. But the problem is everyone sees it. Just want to point that out. You know what I forgot, you guys? It's Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. What are you guys dressing up as? Who's going to a party tonight? Who's going trick-or-treating? It's not bad. This energy drink isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Halloween got it's morphed for me. It's changed a lot lately. But let's go on to this next story. Oh, by the way, if you guys just got here, this is the speculative and it's kind of like the entertainment tonight part of this whole stream we got today. I usually don't go in these directions, but man, this is getting talked about. I heard a little bit about this yesterday and I avoided it because I said, let me really look into this. Let me really find out what is it everyone's speculating and talking about. What they're speculating and talking about is this event that J.D. Vance, who's supposed to be the vice president of the United States, he went to a Talking Point USA event to cosplay as Charlie Kirk and take some debates from the people in the audience because J.D. Vance has nothing else to do. J.D. Vance has been on vacation this entire administration, this runaround. And after that, he's then come around and started acting like he's Charlie Kirk because that's their main objective. He's there to try and puppet in this entire standard of fascism as a MAGA standard in our country. But shit got real weird when Erika Kirk went up there. That is Charlie Kirk's widow, and introduced J.D. Vance. Did y'all see this?
I am tremendously blessed and honored tonight to be able to introduce to you a very, very dear friend and his wife. They are incredible. And I see no one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President J.D. Vance. I do. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to introduce him tonight. He's an amazing man. So please help me welcome to the stage Vice President J.D. Vance.
Erika Kirk introducing the Vice President of the United States to cosplay as Charlie Kirk at a TPUSA event with a bunch of young folks that are supposed to talk to them and, I guess, debate. Why do you have to give a disclaimer that no one would ever replace your husband? That what? It was like the beginning, the first, second week of September when that happened. Why would you have to give that disclaimer before you introduce the Vice President of the United States that you said is a lot like and reminds you so much of your late husband? I mean, that would make people go, what? Why'd you have to say all that? What does that have to do with anything? People also noticed the way that she was introduced herself and, the change in attire that she's got. Wow. That's different. I mean, there was a lot of, traditional wife garb. There was a lot of flowing, covering up things. But now there's some tight ass. I thought pleather. Everyone's saying leather pants. And people got to noticing. So after she had that opening where she was talking about how this guy reminds her so much of her husband, but never could replace him, there was an embrace. And people got to thinking, bro, look at this. They're like, where are their hands? Her hands are gripping his arm and shoulders. His hands are on the hip. He said, these are some nice ass leather pants, Erika. It wasn't only that. Oh, it got worse. Here, I'm gonna bring up this next picture. And then they had a public embrace in front of the adoring crowd that cheered their asses off, who maybe then went, say what? Running her fingers through the back of his hair, a tight embrace even. So people got to speculating and they got to wondering, what's going on? It's weird because suddenly Erika Kirk is as many people that they tried to shut up and silence about how weird it was, how quickly she seemed to have gotten over this horrific public murder of her husband. When they had the fireworks event at his, I guess, funeral, where it looked like a WWE event that many people said it was. Fireworks, flares shooting all over the place. It was a celebration. And, many folks in different cultures have a celebration of life for people when they pass. But that was like a celebration of MAGA taking over and telling everyone that they need to be silent. And they're going to use this as a hammer, bludgeoning everyone to shut the hell up. Don't you dare say anything to us. Don't you dare cross us, because then we'll see you as dangerous and one of the people that we need to rein in. So since that's been the case and people are beginning to realize this is kind of weird, JD Vance was answering questions. And if you guys don't realize it, I'm sure people do. He's married to a woman named Usha. That doesn't sound like or look like anything of Erika Kirk. She's Hindu. This is when he talked about her background and her religion versus JD Vance and his fake Christianity.
Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way. But if she doesn't, then God says everybody has free will. And so that doesn't cause a problem for me. That's something you work out with your friends, with your family, with the person that you love. Again, one of the most important Christian principles is that you respect free will. Usha's closer to the priest who baptized me than maybe I am. They talk about this stuff. My attitude is you figure this stuff out as a family and you trust in God to have a plan and you try to follow it as best as you can. And that's what I try to do.
He just wishes his wife, Usha, he just wishes she was Christian. She goes to church the most every weekend. I guess sometimes she doesn't. He said most of the time. But as we're looking at this whole domino effect go, and this is what people are speculating on, I'm just pointing out the speculation, bro. From the weird, he could never replace my husband, but he reminds me so much of him, to the odd new gear and garb that she's wearing, to the tight embrace, to them looking like they're very close and not just as buddies that people speculate, to then him saying, I just wish my wife was a faithful Christian like Erika Kirk is. It's got people asking questions, bro. And we already know that JD Vance is a shameless, unprincipled politician who's looking for nothing but more power, who's been handpicked by people like Kevin Roberts of the Heritage Foundation, and also all these billionaire folks who celebrated the decision for Donald Trump to choose him as his vice president. I feel like Donald Trump didn't have much other choice but to choose JD Vance, because the people that paid for Donald Trump to be in the positions he's in, and he's not paying back with all this money he's stealing from us and giving to them, I feel like they already told him, this is the guy. If it's not your guy, we're going to have a problem. And the guy now is trying to be sanitized because he was a weird guy who hated him some Donald Trump. And then he morphed into someone else when he found itself politically expedient for him. He's got a background of shedding anything that keeps him from being in power. The problem is nobody likes JD fucking Vance. And by the way, this has been like a pattern for MAGA after Charlie Kirk was killed. They don't give a damn.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. It'll be an absolutely magnificent structure. And I just see all the trucks. We just started. So it'll get done very nicely, and it'll be one of the best anywhere in the world, actually.
The reporter asked, how was the last day and a half been? Day and a half. I would assume that's a day and a half after his buddy. And they said, you know, the new messiah of their entire movement, Charlie Kirk, was murdered in front of everyone. But he could not stop talking about his ballroom. I don't think he even heard the question. He said, very nice. I'm doing fine. Whatever. What are you talking about? Who? And moved on to talk about his glorious ballroom. He did this, I think, the next day. Here he is at the Yankees game. It was probably the jinx and why they got their asses whooped. The entire movement was in mourning. You know, if people that despised the despicable things that Charlie Kirk stood for, which many people did, they got called dangerous, terrorist, murderous, horrible rhetoric. If they were dancing and talking about Charlie Kirk or moved on as soon as someone asked them about him, they'd go, how dare you? But the president of the United States moved on real quick. It's the same energy we keep seeing. JD Vance is moving on. It seems that way. Erika Kirk moving on. So I'm gonna replay really fast what Tucker Carlson, another one of these loyalists, what he also said. And he was beginning to get a bit of a twinge of, what are they doing? They're moving on so fast. Matter of fact, they're mad at everyone that says something slightly negative about the person that they're trying to use as a martyr.
You hope that. You hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one he worked to build. You hope that. You hope that a year from now, the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country. And trust me, if it is, if that does happen, there is never a more justified moment for civil disobedience than that, ever. And there never will be. Because if they can tell you what to say, they're telling you what to think. There is nothing they can't do to you because they don't consider you human. They don't believe you have a soul. A human being with a soul, a free man, has a right to say what he believes, not to hurt other people, but to express his views.
Did you guys hear Tucker Carlson say that you have no other better reason for civil disobedience than if they're trying to control your speech and what you think, that you can't disagree? There's no more dissent. Do you hear him say it? Because I feel like if a well-known lefty talker said something like, "There's no other moment for civil disobedience except for right now," they would have said, "What horrific rhetoric! We need to silence that guy. We need to call him a terrorist. If you can find him, you got to take care of him." But Tucker Carlson said it, so no big deal. Hey, you know what? For shits and giggles, I want to play something else. It's somewhat related, but it's absolutely not related. The only related part is that she's talking about Charlie Kirk. It's been a while since I've paid much attention to what Candace Owens has been saying. But I want to show the potential fractures and questions that are being asked of people who always have questions about these types of huge events. And when it comes from people who are wondering, what are the details of this shooting? What are the details of the aftermath? What are the details of these weird relationships? What are the details of the rhetoric that they've pulled out ever since this whole thing happened? This very major, very public, very gruesome event. There's a lot of questions. And it only gets more interesting when someone like Candace Owens, who was good friends with Charlie Kirk, won't stop talking about how this must be some kind of setup. This is one of those wrenches that gets thrown in the works that gives them headaches. Listen to what Candace Owens said.
I can now report to you that it is a fact that on 9/4 there were this was not some dropping by in Utah as they were trying to claim because the plane needed to be serviced. That's what they ran with. They ran with this could have been a routine servicing. I guess there's just no place from Egypt all the way to Utah that an Egyptian military plane can get a tire changed. This is totally routine. Nothing you see here. Well, I'm telling you that for a fact, that plane was carrying military subcontractors. And for a fact, they were dropped off in Provo. Okay. And that they did not make it back to Cairo. I showed you the plane left. They left on September 10th. It then laid over in Wilmington, Delaware, and departed back for Cairo on the 11th. I am telling you that when that plane left, okay, those people were mysteriously missing from that plane. Okay. What's going on here? Why are Egyptian military subcontractors, what are Egyptian military subcontractors doing in the middle of Provo, Utah on the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated? Okay.
I don't listen to Candace Owens. I stopped paying attention a long time ago. I'm only playing her conspiracy theories on this because it's one of those things that some folks listen to. I don't even know what the hell she's talking about. And not to say because I'm dismissing it because of who she is. I just don't know what she's talking about because I haven't been following the lines of what is that she thinks has happened around this. But I do know it's just not good for them and what they thought would be this smooth transition of using him as this martyr under whatever circumstances he's killed under. It's just not good because there's enough of them that like to go on these rabbit holes. This is the back end of her rabbit hole. It just isn't good.
Again, I am saying as a fact, Kash Patel, please feel free to dispute this. In fact, I almost demand that you dispute it. I think you must. You've been saying everybody's conspiracies are dangerous. Thinking is dangerous. That aircraft was not in Utah for any routine servicing, okay? Rather extraordinarily, this person told me that it was there on some discreet mission. So discreet that this individual was scared for their life to present this information, but felt compelled to present it because they too were horrified, like the rest of the world. Again, the mistake that was made here was executing him publicly. People felt something. right? They felt something. They understood that whatever happened here was a tremendous act of evil. And so what it led to was goodness, more people standing up and doing something brave and saying, we need to root out this evil from our society. What were they doing there? When did they leave? Who are these individuals? I don't understand. Akash Patel, tell us about this flight. Tell us who was on it.
Get on it, Cash. Like I said, if you're surrounding yourself, if there's a band of all these criminals and all these nefarious people who are corrupt and do nothing but want to gain power and willing to step on anyone else for it, and they've stepped on enough people, eventually start stepping on each other. You start crossing each other. People have different objectives and levels of what is it they're looking to get from money and power and respect and some other kind of positioning in this movement. You start to get some fracturing, and they got to deal with it. Candace Owens is one of those folks that I think they're going to have to start paying attention to, because enough people, I think, will be paying attention to her, because there are a lot of questions. Who are they, Cash? Hey, Cash, get on it, bro. Candace Owens, who you guys promoted so much, wants to know, who were those people? Did they kill Charlie Kirk? She's not a leftist with crazy rhetoric. Let's get to this last story. I didn't even know this was happening until one Kevin Roberts, the head of the Heritage Foundation, who talks tough all the time, right before the election happened, talked about how he wants to kill him some libs. I'm sorry, the left. I saw this come across my timeline, and I said, what is he talking about and why?
I'll have more to say on this in the coming days, but today I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic. And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned. My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so, with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington. The Heritage Foundation didn't become the intellectual backbone of the conservative movement by canceling our own people or policing the consciences of Christians. And we won't start doing that now. We don't take direction from comments on X, though we are grateful for the robust free speech debate. We also don't take direction from members or donors, though we are inherently grateful for their support. And we're adding more every day. This is the robust debate we invite with our colleagues, our movement friends, our members, and the American public.
It looks like Kevin Roberts is trying to clean up another infighting moment on the right. What he's concerned now about is these talks about what Israel is doing. And there's folks on the right are like, what the hell are we doing? And the fight is on. And Kevin Roberts has to make sure he keeps his people all together in one collective mindset so they can continue their assault on the left and their murderous tendencies and their fascist takeover of the country. If he's going to come forward and have all this to say, he's definitely concerned about the fighting that's going on. Here are the people that they're fighting about. Kevin Roberts continues.
We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, What I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies, and that's where it will stay.
Don't cancel Tucker Carlson. Don't cancel Nick Fuentes. Kevin Roberts wants to make sure you keep the focus. This is where their focus should be, on our political adversaries of the left. This guy does not like the fractures that are potentially happening. He doesn't like the fact that some people are now being accused of being anti-Semitic because they don't want to keep sending so much money to Israel as they carry out this continued, let's not forget that, continued massacre and genocide of innocent people. So as that keeps happening, they're fighting, bro. You know why they're fighting? As he brought up, Nick Fuentes went on Tucker Carlson's show very recently and sparked all of this infighting because they made up and they understand each other.
I tweeted to Ben Shapiro. I said, you know, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter. I don't know. I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, to accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism.
But the second you're like, well, actually, it's the Jews. First of all, it's against my Christian faith. Like, I just don't believe that, and I never will, period. And second, then it becomes a way to discredit. That's when I was like, this guy's a Fed. I'm sorry I called you gay, by the way. But I'm always, I think I'm just too old or something. I'm like, what? Why is anyone married?
Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes made up. They found their common ground on things like, yo, why are you guys calling us anti-Semitic? Because we have frustrations about what is this going on. What they refuse to point out is that other folks that had frustrations about what's going on, but also have mindsets about other folks in the world, and specifically in this country, having an opportunity to live freely and have opportunities, are way too leftist. They want to destroy your country with that socialism, communism, Marxism. They just throw the isms out there. When those folks are anti-Semitic, we're shutting down college campuses. We're defunding them because of all those anti-Semites on campus that are protesting a genocide of people. But now that they're fighting amongst themselves over this, Kevin Roberts has to step in and go, let's not do any canceling, because people got pissed. Here's more of their kumbaya that they were experiencing together since they previously fought. But they've come to an agreement on their white nationalism.
Look, Tucker, that's why I'm sitting here, you know?
Right.
I mean, because we had a contentious dialogue.
Well, I
for a
thought you
long
were
time.
a Fed. I was
yeah,
gonna say,
and I thought you were a Fed.
I was a Fed.
Yeah.
I'm not a Fed. But whatever, I don't care what people
Yeah,
think.
we showed each other a badge as we know well.
No, but I thought you were a Fed because I was like, why not? It's not cucking to say you're not talking about all Jews when you oppose a foreign policy position. It's not. There's nothing liberal about that. It's just true. That's the Christian position.
Mhm.
Okay. And two, why are you attacking like the best people and not the worst people?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, he disavowed me for my views on Israel and said I talk too much about white people and Christianity. And to me,
Right.
that's like a sincere ideological
I
disagreement.
get it.
Tucker gets it. They understand each other. So again, the battle came because folks within the right wing of this fascist movement were upset, and they wanted this guy deplatformed. I mean, they wanted Tucker deplatformed and canceled because he platformed a white nationalist, disgusting, open, anti-Semite, racist, bigot. I mean, they never cared about the racism, the bigotry, the misogyny. They never gave a shit about any of the things that Nick Fuentes said. Now they have this weird division where they don't know what to do. They've always used these terms to silence folks, and now when two of them are saying something that's similar, or at least has some aspects of the things that they always said to cancel people over, use the power of the entire government and the presidency in this MAGA presidency to do that to them, they don't like that Nick Fuentes is getting platformed. The problem is that they've always agreed with Nick Fuentes. And you know who knew that? This is from like 2021. Nick Fuentes always knew that people like Tucker Carlson agreed with him on his rabid fucking racism. They always agreed.
When Tucker says population replacement is a voting rights issue, there are young people that go, "Yep, yes, that's so true. It is." Right before I went live on my show, I watched a clip from Tucker Carlson's show. And I noticed that Tucker Carlson was saying the exact same thing that I said last night. And that's okay. And in the spirit of America first, and we've got to get used to saying this, I saw that monologue and I said, okay. So, my talking points, I guess, are now mainstream enough that they're on Fox News.
They're uncomfortable that they're always standard of white supremacy, white nationalism, Christian nationalism, bigotry, sexism, racism. They're uncomfortable that it's now on full display, and they are Nick Fuentes, and they always thought they could distance themselves from him, but there's a reason why he was popular. He's popular because he thinks just like they do. He was just open about it. So now Kevin Roberts has to make a decision. Should we go ahead and finally be open about it? Or should we keep saying that all those people we targeted are the ones that are calling us these names and it's violent rhetoric? Nick Fuentes is too honest with all of their bigotry and racism. Remember when the young Republican chats came out and JD Vance said they're just a bunch of kids? Nick Fuentes also blew that spot up too. He's always been on this. They are just like him.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, everyone's a groiper now. I don't even know these people. I've never met these people. And I don't know that they identify as groipers. I don't believe they talked about me. If they did, I'm sure it'd be in here. But it just goes to show this is the mood of my generation. This is the mood. This is the zeitgeist of the under 25, under 30 crowd, especially for white men. It's just where they are. These guys were doing a great thing. These guys are, they're not woke, they're based, and they're doing what they're supposed to be. They're rising up in the party leadership. They're rising up in the government. The mistake that they made is that they were sloppy.
And that was the mistake. They were sloppy. They've always agreed with this guy. That's who they are. This fight's probably going to continue. People are now upset at Kevin Roberts for folding and kowtowing to this anti-Semite. I wonder if one day he's going to have the same fire in his belly that he also had for the left that he wants to, murder. Because this was him before the election. That whole soft version of him that we just saw is a different one because he doesn't know which way to go. This was Kevin Roberts when he's talking about his enemies.
The reason that so many anchors on MSNBC, for example, are losing their minds daily is because our side is winning. And so I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
That's who he is. They're all bad people. They've always agreed with Nick Fuentes. They're just uncomfortable that it's now being seen. Look at that. It's the top of the hour. I just finished up. Happy Friday, everyone. Also, happy Halloween. Hope you enjoy the holiday. Hope the weather is good for you. I hope, you can give out the candy to the trick-or-treaters, that they're all kind and don't dig in and take all of it out. I wasn't one of those kids. I just took a small handful. I was only halfway greedy. Just want to point it out. Anyways, tell TDR that we're on time yet again. You guys get to flood at the correct time. I hope you guys are nice and tipsy, or maybe a little bit up there. Who is it? Dragon Shepherd. I hope you're doing well. I really do. Maybe I'll join you later. We'll see you guys later. Happy weekend. We'll see you on Monday. The best damn day of the week. See you guys. See you, Mom.